And then the NTH audit is going to take place later. Barney is on vacation. He had an emergency vacation that he needed to take for a couple weeks, so he'll be headed to Virginia. He left this morning, so that NTH audit will still eventually happen, and the purpose is for NTH to mimic the state to make sure we're in compliance with our air permits going forward now that both combustion turbines have been stack tested. So that'll happen sometime this winter. Wanted to give a strategic plan update, really related to the action items we have. Back in March, I believe, the board ratified the new strategic plan, and we had a strategic plan action item list. And I just think at least once or twice a year, it's important to review this list as it's ever changing. It's the driver of a significant portion of our budget, and really just give a lot of props to the staff who's doing an awesome job here. So Julie, if you could go down to a supporting document labeled current goals, objectives, and action items, right there, page 1. Just wanted to highlight project 107, which is the 2 capacitor banks on circuit 201, replace relays at the substation, and rebuild circuit 207. Those 3 projects have now started. The South Broadway project in distribution-related system, or distribution-related items and projects, has now been started. And the natural gas supply 24/7, 365 is well underway, and I have a lot of good news to share about that later. If you go to the next page.
Well, before you go.
Yep.
So, I was looking through this. So what was project 103 that's not needed? Because there's no description, so I have no idea what 103.
That's the Viper switch for the river crossing circuit. It is no longer needed because we tipped over all those old dead trees, and we have had 0 issues with that. And that line will be removed as soon as we get our futuristic work completed anyway, so.
Okay, I mean, I was just curious what was not needed, because I'd have no idea what 103 was.
It was probably a $30,000 switch to help out with maintaining the integrity of that line, just to help
Right
turn it
over
back
here
on.
on this side of town.
And it was going to continue to be a problem until we talked about it quite a few
Right.
board meetings back. But yeah, now that them trees are all down, we've had 0 issues out there.
Okay,
Yep.
I was just curious what it was.
Very minor project, but yes. I can put the description on there.
Well, now that I know it,
Right.
I mean,
Maybe we just remove it.
Maybe I'll remove it.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to page 2, e-bill has been started, and really it's active. Julie, I believe, is working on a few issues that I saw come through, but we did release phase 2 of SUS, which has an e-bill option. So e-bill is out there and available. We're just not announcing it until these few issues get fixed. Hydro energy opportunity, that started, and I believe I'm going to move it to complete. And really, we didn't do anything with it, but we still at least pursued it, addressed it, analyzed it, and we made a final decision regarding that. And I'll go over that later in the manager's report. I had a final conversation with Victor. And then a facility use plan for roof repairs, the line shack, the office, and the engine room. Those have all started, and we also had Colliers International look at this portion of our building, and we'll be talking about that later. So a lot of the current goals, objectives, and action items that we talked about 6-7 months ago that had a no that they had started are now moved to a yes. And if we go to completed goals and action items, Julie, you'll see that project 101, rebuilding of circuit 201, that was completed in June. Our online customer platform and the voice over IP phone project and the IT related items and projects were completed in June. The gas compressor and standby compressor and generation related items and projects were completed in September of this year. And if we go to the next page, our cost of service design study and rate design was completed in September of this year, and the economic development rate was completed in October. So, few projects that have been completed, a lot of projects that have been started, and even more that are still in the works. So, just wanted to give a quick update as to where we're at in regards to the action items as part of our strategic plan, and this document is on our website and has been updated on our website. So I know I updated it in June, I just didn't present it to the board, but now as more items were completed, just thought I'd present this to the board so we know where we're at. Any questions regarding this item?
I guess just a minor note, I would leave that project 103, just put it to completed items.
Okay.
Because it looks like you've got another one I thought I saw in there that was completed as not, we decided not to do it. Yeah, not needed, or,
Okay, I will
I
move
think
that.
it's just, it's good to do that, because a lot of these things are investigate.
Investigate
the time
on
it's
the
worth it.
hydro and,
Yep,
Yep.
things like that. So it's good to show that, we're looking into these things, and
Right.
then the other one I had was the solar, so nothing started on that one? Is that, or is it just sort of beginning?
I guess we're in the investigative, but I haven't even received a proposal. So I just
Okay.
don't know how I want to say started when I haven't received a formal proposal or presented anything other than initial conversations to the board, because that phase could be going on for 3-4 months.
Okay.
I can put
That's-
started if you'd like, but
No, I think it's fair, just wanted.
I don't want to
clarify,
overcommit
yeah.
and paint too rosy of a picture if we really, I'm not really into the weeds of it yet, because I'm waiting on so many answers to questions we've asked.
Mhm. I'm good with that.
Okay.
I know your succession plan is not till 2018, 2019. Are you, so I was just thinking, as I'm too much time driving, thinking of things, so do you, in that succession plan, will you have in there like the yearly functions of, okay, I start to work on budget for next year at this time period, that I mean, do you have any of those things written down anywhere?
I think Julie and Megan I would say for Julie's department, they know every single task that needs to be done administratively
Okay,
for the entire month. I know I had a checklist that I passed on to Julie and Megan, that this needs to be done at this month, this needs to be done during this week, or,
Right.
and there's a lot of cross-training that has happened. I'm confident that, God forbid, something happened to Ryan, the distribution department could go on.
and I guess as a board, that's what one concern I think that the board has. That, like you said, hopefully nothing ever happens to anybody, but we always want to be prepared if something should happen, that, that low light power continues on without any hitches and glitches.
And
all
really,
that
I
kind of
think
stuff.
we should, succession planning, maybe we should almost change that to like cross-training. Not
Okay.
that somebody is gonna take somebody else's job, but they have the knowledge of at least what somebody does at a high level and what needs to happen at
Correct.
certain times of the year.
I mean, that sounds good.
And that's
I mean,
partly really why, I asked like Ryan and Julie and Sharon to attend board meetings. So, I mean, they kind of know how they flow, what's expected, what we present on. So at least information can be communicated and related to the board, and I'm confident that staff could put together the board packet without me here. They do a lot of it already.
Okay, I mean, I just,
Except for that copy and paste, that was you, right?
Right, that was all. Yes.
Oh, man.
Yes. All right, moving on to long-term natural gas supply. Couple weeks ago, we had a meeting with Consumers Energy here. Ryan, Barney, and I met with 5 people from Consumers, a couple from the real estate side of their business, a couple in engineering, and then our just contact out of Grand Rapids. And for the longest time, we've been looking at the site right here on the river because it's vacant land. That's where the gas line is. It's in the right of way. We kind of own it. Then off the cuff, I think Ryan and Barney and I said, well, because they talked about an environmental study, we want to potentially have a river walk here someday. How
big is the
tall and how
footprint?
look is it going to be?
20 by 40.
20 by 40.
20 by 40.
We said, what happened, could we just extend the gas line, or could you extend the gas line and we put it in a fenced-in area right by our transformer and other electrical equipment right on the south side of our building? And they said, that'd be awesome. We had thought of that, but we never mentioned it because we thought all that was active equipment, when really, there's just a couple transformers back there that are active, and we can really remove everything else. So Mike Burns and Richland Bombard, I forgot to mention, they attended the meeting. They were very supportive of that. It's very clear that we own that property. All that would need to be done is give them an easement. So that's being worked on right now. There's some indemnity language that we'd like them to put in, that if anything happens and they're negligent, they'd be responsible. And Dick and I have been working with them on that. They're getting us an actual footprint of the property. But push comes to shove, we'll be bringing before an easement to the board, which will then go to council if you approved it, and that'll allow them to start work. So we expect the project to be completed by this time next year. That's what they told us at the meeting. Now, there is a price tag that Light and Power is going to need to incur, $750,000 for that regulating station. That regulating station takes gas from the high to medium portion of their system, which is on the entire east side of the system, goes underneath the river, comes to this pipe, and it'll transfer gas to the low pressure portion of their system that our combustion turbines are on. That regulating station is only needed by low Light and Power. And I did talk with the MPPA, and they've been through these types of things a lot longer than I have, and they said this is pretty common. This isn't something you can just negotiate or play hardball on, and this is pretty common in the industry. The good news is, depending on our gas usage, we can have that $750,000 rebated to us over a 5-year period. And the way it works is every 10 hours we run, so if we run 10 hours a year for 5 years, that's a 1% rebate on that $750,000. If we run 20 hours a year for every year for 5 years, that equates to a 2% rebate. So if we run 1,000 hours per year for 5 years, we'll get the $750,000 back. So when you do the math, every hour we run reduces our megawatt hour cost in the market by $22.06. I've done all the math in Excel, and I could bring all that up at a future meeting. But we expect with Consumers Energy's current gas rate that we would move to, there's a number of rates, there's like a GS1, a GS2, a GS3, and a transportation rate that I have to evaluate. Under those rates, it would cost us $60.59 per megawatt hour to run. However, we have the $22.06 rebate that we'll get every hour on the average for running, meaning that we'll be able to get into the market at $38.54. The MPPA, Brent Henry and I put together a LMP, or market low duration curve, for 2019, and we expect the market to be over $38.54, 2,414 hours, and we only need it to be over 1,000 hours. And the way it works is there's a day ahead or a real-time market, and I don't mean to be too technical, and you're like, oh, what are the chances you're going to be here that 1,000 hours? Well, the way it works is we'll get a day ahead report, and the vast majority of the time it'll say, okay, hour ending 14, hour ending 15, hour ending 16, hour ending 17. It's usually a curve like this, where usually 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 or 6 o'clock at night will all be over a certain price. And you can say, I'm going to run my unit tomorrow, and you get the guaranteed day ahead price paid to you. So if the actual cost of power in the real time is $20, you're guaranteed the $40 you signed up for.
Okay.
If it's $100, you only get the 40, but then you're never out. So it's very, very, very realistic that we will run 1,000 hours for 5 years, as long as there's not a major catastrophe or something with the turbines, 4 or 5 years, and get the $750,000 back. Granted, it's paid to us over a course of 5 years, but we do expect to eventually get that money back, $150,000 a year for 5 years. So nothing we need to decide on tonight, but I at least wanted to have the conversation because it's a huge chunk of change, and I am going to reallocate our budget significantly so that we can pay for this. They're going to be doing a lot of other gas infrastructure upgrades in Lowell over the course of the next year, and it's cheaper for them to do this work right now. And we've been wanting this to happen for, Perry knows, 5-6 years. I think now that this opportunity's come up, you got to pull the trigger and you got to make it happen. So that's just what happened at the meeting, some more technical details, things I'm looking at. Don't know if there's any questions or comment, but
Is it capped at 1,000 hours per year?
no. Our permit will allow us to run over, I believe, right around 2,100 hours per year per turbine.
And that's all rebatable?
Per turbine.
Only up to the $750,000 is rebatable.
But it's not capped per year, so if we ran 200,000 in the first year, we'd get rebated for 200,000.
You need to be consistent
5
over the
years.
5 years. I believe they spread it into I was simplifying it, so
Yeah.
you can get up to 20%
Per
in the
year.
first year.
Oh, okay.
So
it's
if you
only
run
150
1,000,
per year then.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we pick up any more incentives by using the natural gas like turbines? I forget what you actually call it, where we get incentives back.
Like
for-
capacity?
Yeah, not capacity, but just because we ran it, we got those. It's not really a
Well, that's
rebate. I
just
forget
the-
what you call it.
the market.
We can
Peaking-
make
the
money in the
peaking, right?
market. So
Yeah.
the thing that I haven't, I mean, let's say it's even, we're producing roughly 7 megawatts. Let's say the market's 48 and we know our costs are 38. So you're still making $10 per megawatt, times by your 7 megawatts that hour, that's $70. And maybe you run 10 hours that day. So that's $700 for that one day. And if you do that for 100 days, because 10 hours times 100 days, this should get you to your 1,000 hours. You could make $700 times by 100, it's $70,000 in additional revenue that year and just profit from the market sales.
Mhm.
If you do that for 5 years, that's another $350,000. I'm not saying it's going to work exactly like
Right,
that.
but-
Gas costs change, but as a forward projection, we're in the money and it makes economic sense.
Mhm.
It's just my job and staff's job to carry that out.
So is that the peaking, or peaking means generating power for us, so we don't have to buy it from the market? Or is it both, that we're selling to the market or just preventing us from buying from the
Really, peaking is where you're only running a few hours on certain days because it makes economic sense. Would almost be more base load, and it would be considered base load because $38 is very affordable power where it makes economic sense for us to run 8, 10, 12 hours a day. So that's almost like base load energy
market? Okay,
for days at a time. I wouldn't consider it peaking anymore.
cool, okay.
Do we need this regulation station to run in the winter? That was a discussion some months back.
This regulating station that's located here
Yeah.
is owned and operated by consumers, and it'll run especially in the winter. In the summer, they will have enough gas on their medium to low pressure system for us. So we could say, don't do the regulating station, but then we'd be limited to running May 1st through September 30th like we are right now.
Right, so in order to run the generators in the winter,
We need the
we
regulating
really do need
station.
this.
Yes.
Okay. So it's something we need anyway.
It's something we need anyway, and the capacity rules are changing in MISO, that you have to demonstrate you can run your generating units in the summer and winter. Right now, legally, we only have to prove that they can run one time a year, and we obviously do that in the summer. We still get capacity revenue in the winter, every month, and that is roughly $24,000 a month. So if we did not invest in this regulating station, we would lose $24,000 a
Right.
month at current capacity rates, times by 6 months. It's $144,000. Times by 5 years, you're almost
Which
up to
is insane.
$750,000, even if you weren't getting your money back.
Right.
You could justify it just on lost capacity revenue, and then you
Yeah.
still have the insurance of having the unit to run if there was ever a disaster.
Mhm.
Anyway, a lot of details there, but
Good
I
news.
don't want to just come to you 3 months from now, we got to spend 750 grand, and why don't you mention it to me so I can marinate and think about it a couple months ago. I know, sorry for getting technical,
No.
but if anybody has any
No,
questions, let
that's
me
good.
know. I just want
think
to,
it's, personally, I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, we've been
it's going to
looking
be
forward to it
huge.
For a while, I think, and
Yeah, this is awesome stuff. Okay, SUS Customer Platform and Application Phase 2 has been released. The 3 features of Phase 2 were outage maps, where the outage of a meter would show up as either out or restored in real time. The ability for e-billing, and remind me of the last feature, Julie.
Usage.
Incremental usage data every hour. So that app is out. I think there was just a couple
website.
problems on the e-bill.
The portal's out, the app has not been released yet. We have to say that we like the portal, and then they have to send it out.
Can
to
you
the
go
app
over
store.
just the problems with the e-bill? I think like previous balance wasn't showing correct on Nicole's account or something.
Yes, and you can view previous bills and previous payments. And on Nicole's bill that we're sampling, an employee here that lives in the city, she clicks on previous bills and those aren't correct. They're not matching our DAFRON system. So we've responded back to them. They're looking into it, and right now they've just been asking different questions and making sure that the information they're getting from DAFRON is correct, and then they're checking why their system is reporting incorrectly.
I think we have 150 people signed up on SUS right now.
Yeah, I think it's, I
Higher?
thought it was higher, yeah. I thought so, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think we probably, it could be 160, 170, and then we have a couple hundred people doing reoccurring payments on Clearwater, and those will be transitioned to the SUS app. And then we also have a couple hundred that we do bank withdrawals from their account. So all in, our analysis is we could have roughly 1/4 of our customers on this app in the near future. So I do believe it's alleviating work, which allows the office staff to do other things.
Correct.
And everything else about the app is working good,
As far as we know, yes.
as far as we know, until we don't.
The portal,
No, it's working good.
yeah. Yeah.
The old engine room, included in your packet is a broker opinion of value from Colliers International. Wanted to go over this document with you tonight. As part of our strategic plan action item list, we have a facility use plan, and my intention for getting this done was the following. We have old diesel units there. The room is in rough shape, the floor, the walls, there's a lot of equipment. I thought a professional document that we could bring to the board and council would make sense to decide if we would like to put the money into that building to someday lease it out. If they showed that we could get $2 a square foot per year and make $8,000 a year, and after we do all the building improvements, it's gonna cost us $150, the board might say, why make the initial investment if it's gonna take 15 years to get your money back? Colliers, if we go down in the report, they expect that if we remove the equipment, leveled the floor, repaired and replaced the roof, which is being done, had an environmental one study and any decontamination done that could be found, and the interior was washed and replaced, we could lease the building out for between $5 and $7 per square foot. They have, and they still are, doing commercial real estate work within the city. And this is actually, I know Tim, he's a great guy, he's very smart, and this isn't just some Grand Rapids number. He made this special niche to Lowell, and you'll see comps within this report. The other option would be tearing down the building and selling the parcel, which that's a one-time influx of revenue, but knowing we're gonna have this new regulating station out
20 by
here,
40, yeah.
it's outside in the fenced area, it's probably not an option. So at this point, I'm not gonna go over all the details of the report, but I'm focused on, if we got the midpoint, Colliers thinks in time, we can make $27,000 a year in lease revenue. Is it worth exploring how much it would cost to take care of the items Colliers listed so that we would even have the potential to lease this part of the building out?
You said the roof is already being done.
The roof is being done, an environmental one, and Tim thought an environmental 2 would be needed. Those can run anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000.
Oh, yeah, they're expensive.
very expensive,
I don't-
especially with the pits that we have underneath the ground,
Yeah.
what the building was used for.
They're cool though. It comes in a book about that thick, and it'll tell you everything. It'll tell you what bug was crawling across the asphalt that day. And it's expensive.
Well, we got a buyer for the 12-cylinder diesel.
Well, good.
He was talking.
Marty, we'll sell it to you. We'll give it to you for free if you can take it out and restore the building.
Okay, well,
We're gonna make a pump out of it.
I have received a quote to have the units taken out and the building restored. Instead of us getting paid, we could pay them $60,000 to make that happen. So to me,
Wow.
it makes more sense for us to scrap the units out ourselves in time,
Yeah.
rain, snow days, with our own guys. The problem is, do we have that time? There's a
Right.
ton of projects that
Ryan.
eventually. So I just wanted to get the board's thoughts.
So I'm adamantly opposed to tearing down. I think I know embrace change, but again, I think it's history of Lowell.
I'm against it too.
So would tear that. My other thoughts to explore, if we're looking at that, certainly that amount would be significant, but being a municipality, we're to help our citizens and everything, I'm thinking of, if we did something with that area, you could have, open it up to nonprofit group. There's no place to have meetings here in town, basically. So if you had like a community building and made that into a community building that, youth football, any nonprofit that needed to have a place to be able to come in and hold a meeting, a meeting room and everything, I'd explore that type of usage in the building as compared to leasing it out. I just think we could explore those different things and be that much more of community-minded, helping the community out.
To do those things, would you want the things they recommended done? I think that,
I think some of the stuff I was reading in here, we really don't need to do. Basically, we're gonna give a white box. When we had our construction company, we came in and you basically got 4 walls, a ceiling and a floor. If you had to have more than the outlets you had, then that's your problem as a tenant. You get your contractor in here. If you need plumbing, restrooms have to be provided, but there's so many things you can put your tenant on that'll pay for, that the landowners and the building owners don't need to pay for. Basically, you're on the hook for walls, ceiling,
A shell, basically.
and that's it. If they wanna, they can't change the facade, they can't change the way anything looks without, written permission, so,
so are you suggesting that the future tenant would pay for the removal of the generators?
no, that
We'd
would
have
be
to clean
something
that,
you would
yeah.
have to do, yes.
Right.
But,
An empty shed.
I think the recommendations, removal of equipment, floor level, roof getting
Right,
repaired
right.
already.
That we
I think
would do.
those are minimums that we would be responsible.
Right, that's what okay,
yeah,
yes, okay.
but then there was other things in there that, we just don't have to, you just don't need to do. Like the environmental, yep, that's something, I don't think a phase 2 is gonna be needed, because the banks aren't even requiring a phase 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's a phase 1 here in town. However, that fuel oil tank that was underground, when we had our environmental done, they were curious to see if that plume had moved. It didn't.
Right.
But you were able to achieve that just with a phase 1? Okay.
They're gonna do a phase 1 for the gas regulator station too.
Yeah. They'll have
They
to,
already
so
said that.
Right.
So we would
basically,
know that then.
yeah,
I wonder if we
basically,
could
if you get a
combine it
copy of the phase,
With economies of scale,
they're
get a
they're
cheaper
gonna pay
rate.
for that first phase.
That's a good idea. That does seem like something you'd want to at least be known as the contamination aspect. I don't think you want that hanging out there before we lease it or sell it.
Right.
The problem with that back there is that there's been a lot of different things back there over the years, and
It's been an auto body
Yep.
shop.
yep, I've dug up spots where we hit this green ooze and you went, that can't be any good. And we did have an environmental on that place, so that was the weird part, is like, how did you guys miss this? But it was right alongside the foundation where they never bothered to check, so. They're expensive, but they're worth it in the end, because once you do it, any lender, it just makes property value go up.
So does the floor have to be leveled, or could some potential tenant not care? I don't know, it just seems like,
Well, there is a lot of
I don't,
steps or pits.
Yeah, there's a pit for each of the generators. isn't there?
Yeah, and if you took the generators out, you're gonna have like these.
Well,
Yeah.
you do and you
What
don't.
would they-
What you do is you'd go in, you'd fill sand, and you'd pour probably a 4 or 6 inch cap.
Yeah.
Once it's all done, then you do what's called gypcreting, and gypcreting is a self-leveling concrete, even a space that size. It'll go from
Oh,
zero.
yeah.
It'll go from 0 to 2 inch.
Levels.
Kent will come in here and pour that, and that whole floor, when it's done, looks like a brand-new, freshly poured floor, but yet it might only be a 1/16 of an inch on your side and 1.5 inches on my side. But when it's done, it's all nice and level, and it's pretty, and it's relatively inexpensive. That's something that's done quite often.
okay.
I think you'd want to put bridge decking over the holes and maintain your basement area for plumbing, though.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that basement part in the back, you're right, that would be a good place to leave alone and have a stairway put down and board it, wall it up, and that way you can put your restrooms back, everything's right there. So, there's lots of things you could do. Just gotta get a good architect.
Right.
They're expensive.
Gosh,
The good ones are.
that'd be the tenant's job.
Yeah, there you go.
I think this is a good start. I mean, it gives us some information to think about and everything. I don't think we're at a point to make a decision tonight
No.
on what we want to do with that, but again, I think this gives us a starting point of the cost, the value, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, to me, I've been here 8 years. It's doing nothing. Eventually, push is gonna come to shove and we should do something with it.
Well, I think
Or there
it's
should be a
nice to be-
decision, we're gonna leave it be or we're gonna do
But all-
something.
But it'd be nice to be closer to ready though, because you never know when someone's gonna show up and say, hey, we could really use that, and you're willing to lease it, and we're like, oh, give us a few months to
Right.
figure
But-
out what we're gonna do with it. Well, then they're gonna find another spot and move on.
But like over the 8 years you've been here, how many hours of downtime has the guys had to where they could have been in there? 100, 200, 300 hours over 8-year period you could have put into that and start slow. It's not it doesn't have to be a fast process, but it is a process that if you say, yep, well, let's just start doing it. Because I think Mark told me you got to hopscotch those generators out, right? They go from beam to beam to beam on that hoist system.
None of those beams out there will lift those generators. You take some kind of a gantry crane system and bring it in there, and a
Pick it up.
mobile unit, and move the things out, or a heavy lift, low reach forklift or whatever. Yeah, that's the only way they're gonna leave, unless you do it piece by piece.
Has the board given any direction on removal of those at this point?
They have not. I mean, if
We've, over the years, we've hoped that a third world country
Somebody would
would
want
want to
them?
purchase them. I mean,
Within the last month and a half, we have had contact with the Fairbanks and Morris representative out of Houston that was asking for the nameplates and KW rating on them units, because they had somebody that was interested. I just haven't heard anything back lately. But, so there has been some recent development, but it's hard to say if that'll ever turn into anything.
Yeah, and for the person who offered us 60 had people who needed them in a third world country. He just figured by the time he takes them out, restores the building, engineers them, brings them down to where they need to go, sets them up, he still needs $60,000 from us to make it economical. So it's not like there isn't buyers out there. It's just,
Getting them. to-
by the time they do all the work to get them to the buyer, they still need money from us to make it worth it. I know they're great in antiques and whatever, but I'd rather not pay that money and scrap them ourselves and get the money ourselves and know they're somewhere being used. I know that's just maybe not the right thing to say, but
Put them on a playground and get them climbing them.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, the insurance topic we talked about that.
There you go.
That's gonna come back on the don'ts part of the list.
That's
Yes,
not the intended use, right?
yes.
Kid might
Kids
fall in
climb
that
on worse things than
cylinder.
that.
So why don't we revisit this in a couple months? Just think about it. I'd prefer that we make a decision one way or another if we're gonna at least try to improve the space and eventually lease it out, or if we're just saying the money is not in it. We're just gonna leave it as is. And then every time I see it, it's just,
I think
I
it's
shake
worth,
my head. I'm just like, ugh.
it's worth doing something with, getting it ready. Like I said, at some point, someone's going to find a way to use it, whether we do or somebody else does. But the problem is if it's not ready, no one's going to use it.
Right.
Well, I can
And so
tell
as
you,
long as we don't have it ready, nothing's going to happen to it.
the demand for retail space or space in general in this town is huge. I mean, we get, once a month, I get somebody coming into my place wants to know if they can lease half of it or, got that back room that we used to lease out, and I've got people now interested in that. It's a little smaller than what they want, but they don't care. They want to be here. They can't afford to be in Ada, so we're doing well for a little town.
There's
That's why I think it is
several-
worth making the effort to move it towards ready, whatever that is,
So
like.
maybe you'll
Perry
come
can
in
do-
and you'll see
we
one
know
gone
Perry
next
can do
month.
it. You can do the floor. I've seen you saying.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. There's several of us that have talked about, as Ada's doing all this projects, it's
Correct.
just gonna make Lowell more desirable, because they're not gonna be able to afford the cost.
High rent.
Yeah, the high rent district, right?
Yep.
What amazes me, that they're renting it and they're filling it. There's people are willing to pay that high rent, so
It's
just.
new, that's why.
But it's high-end, it's high-end
High-end.
places that are
Yes.
going there.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
Gravel Bottom.
Oh, yeah.
They give Gravel Bottom a brand-new facility to go ahead and turn into their tap house, but they can't produce beer in there. That was part of their thing. Their old facility, they, just like over here, they produced beer in there, they served it in there, they did everything. Now they have to go off-site to find a place off-site, so now you're renting two spots. So is it worth it anymore?
Well, I think it's
Yeah.
worth pursuing the phase one in conjunction with the, like you mentioned, there might be potential savings if
Right.
there's that. If they're gonna already do the environmental for the pipeline, that,
And you're gonna need some time to work it into the budget.
Right.
Right. Oh, for sure.
right?
Yeah, this isn't an overnight thing, but I
Yes.
just want to get started somewhere.
Will our insurance go up because of this?
Probably for some reason.
Okay,
I
I'm
don't know
just
why.
curious.
You think insurance is gonna go down?
Wow.
Thanks, our floor's not level enough, so it's.
Actually, I can answer that for you. No, it will not.
It will not go up?
No, because your renter has to carry their own insurance, and their own
Liability
liability.
insurance.
That's true.
Basically, you're covering your shell. Your building has a value of X. Irregardless what they do, it's still X. So your insurance never goes up because you've got a tenant in there.
It is a cool building. It's one of the great historic buildings that we still have around. Those windows, every time I'm in that area, I'm looking for those long chains so I can open up the top window. Because, you don't have that anywhere. And by God, if we move forward on this, those windows are not going anywhere.
Is it in the historical
Period.
district and we'd have to abide by certain things on the building?
It's not.
I don't think
It
so.
is not? Okay.
There's no way of getting it in because there's tons of grants available for
I
that.
talked to Steve Doyle about getting into it, and it was like a long process.
Okay.
Oh, we're in it for the long run, so.
Yeah, we're not going.
So,
Okay, let's move on.
Yep.
All right, solar in town here. I let Performance Services know that we're very interested in exploring solar in town. the dependable site is out due to it being in the floodplain. They approached Grand Rapids Gravel about the 4 acres right next to our substation, and I had hoped I would have heard back by today's meeting, but I haven't. So they must still be in discussion with them, and I'll bring back more information hopefully next meeting. Cyber audit. Within the last month, Adorio and Cora Highcom upgraded our Entangle server to the latest version. We also instituted a new mandatory password procedure for all computers and electronic devices. And we have identified 3 vendors that could potentially perform a cyber penetration audit. Betsy will be taking care of this, and she provided a quote for a list of services that the cyber audit vendor could do for us, and I included those in your packet. And you'll see that if we wanted to do everything they could offer, it would cost us $21,000. So I don't know if we phase these in over time and we decide every 4 years we want to cover all of these things, and it's like a rotational basis instead of incurring $21,000 worth of cost, or if we don't think it's worth it, but we're going to wait to get all 3 quotes back. But we are looking at it, and if it makes economic sense and it fits in the budget, I think we'd want to tackle anything that's most critical to the electric distribution infrastructure first. So we even have a baseline, because right now, we probably don't know. I mean, we have great protections, that's what Betsy tells us, but it would be good to go through the process, like I think Jeff mentioned last month. What's so funny, Perry?
Tell you afterwards.
Okay. Now I'm curious.
Something I heard on WLAV, so.
Okay.
Radio?
It's gotta be true.
What?
It's gotta be true.
Yeah.
So we'll
Uncle
continue,
Mark said
we'll
it.
continue to look at cyber penetration audits.
Okay.
Whitesbridge Hydro, I had a good conversation with Victor about the impasse that we are in with him regarding a potential purchase power agreement, and really the conversation ended with an acknowledgement by both parties, him and I, that there's nothing in the cards right now, and there won't be unless costs can come down on his end. He understands why the board's making the decision. I think he's a little bummed out because we appeared so interested at the beginning, and I think we were until we went through the economic analysis. With that being said, I really did appreciate the process from the board taking time out on Saturday, allowing me to spend time doing a full financial analysis, talking about the pros and cons, whether it be the historic value or the diversity of power, how much extra we're willing to pay for power here located near us. I just think it's a healthy, productive way to look at purchase power agreements than just, it's cool to have hydro in the portfolio. I think it's good that we looked at all angles, and I appreciate the board's support on that. Harvest Festival, it was very cold and rainy. We had less visitors than normal, but thanks to Perry and Marty for grilling.
They were good.
And Sharon, Julie, Gail, Nicole, Mark, Justin, and Steve for their preparation and work at the event. We had pumpkins and chips and hot dogs, and I think 8 bucket truck rides, 2 of which were Steve Shade's kids. So no accidents to the insurance carrier. But, anyway.
Yeah, an accidental.
We're not gonna mention that.
Yeah, accidental.
I got that picture. Oh, well, I had a heart attack. Oh man, I'm glad I wasn't there.
You were at the wedding, were you? When
I was in Spring Lake. The wedding was at 2 or 3 o'clock. They were Catholic, so yeah, I got Marty's text. I showed it to a couple of the other groomsmen. They're like, "What?" It sounds like fun. It's like, no. Harry, you're gonna kill me.
we had fun.
I know. I imagine you did.
We can do bowling
That's your
with
phone.
pumpkins next year. Put up a bowling.
There you go. Good idea.
October payables in your packet. A couple other things that I did not include here. Thanksgiving in a couple weeks. Office will be closed Thursday and Friday. New lineman position. We had 6 total applicants for the position, 3 of which were not journeyman linemen, but 3 of which who were fully certified. 2 right around here and 1 in the city of Painesville, Ohio, who has family actually in Lowell. And we had those interviews this past week, and all 3 were very awesome candidates. very good guys, all on the younger side, I think probably between 28, 35 or 36, but
Okay.
fully certified journeyman linemen. And Anna, Ryan, and I were in agreement independently on the candidate we thought would be the best, to me, fit was very, very important. Just maintaining the team as well. I mean, all of them could do the job. We wanted the best fit. And we made an offer to a gentleman by the name of Zachary Walker from Painesville, Ohio, and he accepted. So I'll be announcing that to staff next Wednesday during our morning meeting. We believe he'll be starting the first Monday in December. So we'll have the full distribution department team, where we'll be able to have full 2 teams of 3 for the first time and knock out a lot of work. And this employee was budgeted for, so it was a super awesome job. Hollins had an open position for over 2 years. Traverse City had a posting for 2 linemen and could not get 1 applicant. So Ryan must be doing something right over there in his department that everybody wants to come and work for him. So,
It's
Yeah,
sure.
great.
I have a couple questions about payables.
yeah, 1 second, let me
Okay.
finish these 2. Building renovation update, we've had a couple contractors come in here to remodel the kitchen break room downstairs. We are gonna have a 3rd one come in hopefully in the near future, and we hope that project starts soon and is finished by the end of the fiscal year. And another really cool development, Megan, Julie, Ryan, and I had a meeting with a vendor today for a GIS and an OMS platform, which also incorporates web-based timesheets and work orders, and it was a
Okay.
very positive demo today and discussion and analysis, and we're gonna further explore this in the coming months, and this is an action item in the strategic plan, but I know the distribution department is really ready for something that's more electronic-based and
Yeah.
not paper-based, so we're gonna, I think I had it a year and a half out, but we're gonna try to move that up and rearrange dollars within the capital budget so this can happen sooner than later. So, just had a really good meeting today on that. And Perry, your questions? And these
Okay.
would be for Julie, she takes care of it now, so
Payable.
I can help you out.
CNI prescriptive, what is that? And it's Kirk Collins?
Sharon,
Oh, that is, he did all his lights, LED.
Okay.
Yep.
That's enough-
CNI is commercial and industrial.
Okay. Cold water. So what's the contract with cold water? $560 a month, 500? Okay, so here's my question, how many people do we have that we don't have on AMI?
Roughly 70.
Okay, so my question is,
Here's,
to get some of them, do we really need cold water? What cold water is to the general public, we contract with them, so to call in an emergency or anything, it goes to a dispatch in cold water, they then dispatch our guys. If with the AMI and everything, as soon as power goes out, we're getting noticed right away, except for those 70 customers, do we really need to be paying cold water, this contract for $560 a month?
I've thought of that, and the only concern I have is if we shut someone off for non-payment, and we know the meter's off, our office is closed, and they get home or they decide in the winter, because we do shut off in the winter, I want to pay my bill, so a lineman can come out here and turn the power back on.
So how do they pay the bill? Does the lineman collect that
The
money?
lineman has an app on their phone to
Okay.
accept credit card payments. We have a Square Cash app. So
Okay.
we don't accept payment in the field. They know that it has to be done via the little swipe or entering it in.
How many times does that happen? I'm just throwing these things out so that we explore and say, let's.
$7,000 a year.
So do we save $7,000? Because we're getting everything except, so do we go back to those 70 customers and say, and show that what our experience is and try to convince those 70 customers to go to the AMI because we get notified right immediately if your power goes out.
I think it would work
Yeah.
for probably 5% of those people, but the rest of them are dead set against it.
I agree with you, though. I think we could, my worry, we could figure out a way that they could call, or if they call our office, it's forwarded to a linesman's cell phone after hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That problem's solvable, but I do think 70 customers is, what, a couple percent of your population?
It's not trivial.
I used to play cards. 1 or 2 or 3% can happen more than you think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would hate to ever be in a situation where there's a couple customers who actually go out. We just never
So-
respond.
So is it, apparently it's a flat rate of 560? It
It
didn't
is.
matter if we had 2,500 customers or
Correct.
100, it's still 560?
Correct.
Okay.
I just think.
And that is
again,
pretty
I'm looking
cheap.
at-
That's,
I know, but I guess I'm looking at,
560 a month?
yeah.
Okay.
we explore that and look at that. So that's,
I think it's a great point. I really do.
Because
Although-
where are all these customers located, and are they tied to a different transformer that has a customer on AMI? And if that customer's out, they're gonna get an email, or we will get an email from that one. I mean, if.
Unless it's their individual service job.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, unless there's one
Right.
opt-out person that's on his own transformer that we would never be notified, but maybe they're all linked with somebody else that it may work. We could look into it for sure.
Or at the very, or at the very least, just a way to have somebody call a number that could notify to a voicemail box that would ping somebody who can then check it and see if it's a real issue. 'Cause, I mean, the other issue is what if AMI doesn't detect something for some crazy reason?
We did have that problem where actually when Betsy upgraded our Barracuda spam filter, the guy stopped getting emails on outages because we got
They got
so many
trapped.
at one time, all of a sudden they considered it spam, so Ryan did not get an email. And then we figured it out, but those are the, I agree though,
Those are
$7,000 is,
1%.
if you can save $7,000, it's not needed. We will look at, I agree with you, Perry, there has to be a way to avoid the $7,000. We have AMI now. I agree with you.
We should have a system to call in anyway, I think.
Or the lineman who's on call gets, if our office gets called, the call is forwarded to their cell phone number and Ryan's.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or something
Yeah.
like that.
Or they get a text saying, hey, call into your voicemail, or I don't know, voice to text, things like that.
I guess, I just going, I don't usually, but I went last night, laying in bed, I went through everyone, looking at every one of them, the payables, and went, you know, especially with AMI now, and just like you said, I mean, they handled the shut off, that people didn't even know that they were without a power, and they were able to get them back on and everything before that. So I'm thinking the service from Coldwater is becoming outdated. The other is,
agree.
there's a retiree, and I don't want to name names or anything, there's a retiree medical insurance reimbursement, because for that one group of people that were hired before, we pay, refresh my 90% of their.
Correct.
Until the day they
Yes,
leave this earth.
yes.
So this is a reimbursement, so is this through our insurance company, or can that person, that retiree, go out and purchase any insurance that they want? And so there becomes, you know, they buy in their retiree, they buy the best insurance that they
We-
possibly can, and we're paying 90% of that? Or
We will.
how does that work?
We only pay up to the amount that we would pay if they were on our Hartford plan.
Okay,
And if let's say our Hartford plan, we contribute 300, their cost for their plan that they choose is 200, we still make them pay 10%. Even though they're saving us $100, they have to have some skin in the game. And they show us proof of that policy, and Julie takes care of that.
okay, that was one of the questions.
Yeah, we're not
I had.
gonna let them go take a Cadillac plan and pay them $1,000.
That's the only questions I had on the accounts payable.
I have nothing else. It's before 8.
Okay.
It's great news.
It seems later than that, though.
It's dark.
Next regular board meeting is December 14th. I expect a present on that day. It's my birthday.
When is it? Sorry.
December 14th. I know.
I could be in the audience
Okay.
heckling you guys.
Moving on, board comments. Jim,
Well-
probably your last meeting.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. I don't know how long it's been. I don't know if it's been a year and a half, 2 years. It's been a good thing. And I can honestly say, when I wear this shirt and this patch, the community has a tremendous amount of pride in Low Light and Power. There's no doubt about it. When I was running, I'd ask people, well, what's the highlight in Lowell? Besides the citizens, Low Light Power was in the top two every single time, everybody I talked to. And that has to do with everybody here in the room that supports it, runs it. Steve, you and your team.
Great team.
Yep, it is. So, anyways, I wear this with pride, so I hope you guys continue to wear it with pride as well, too. And I do have an extra large vest for sale. It says Low Light Power. Yep, extra large. Yep, so that's it for me.
Jim, congratulations on moving over that side of the river. You guys did a good job.
Out of the frying pan and into the fire.
Yeah, and Perry asked me that same thing. I think that Justin over there working on those trucks, that's just amazing to me, you know. I encourage you guys to all go, and that day he just happened to be working on the one I got to see, and the kid is really, really good. And if you haven't gone over and seen the new generator and the new compressor,
I need to.
you should take a little wander, because the generator is immaculately clean for considering what I thought it was gonna be.
Marty, the door's fixed,
It is?
sweep, and it's a lot more cleaned up than when you came too.
No way.
Yeah, a lot cleaner.
Yeah, it's
I know
awesome.
the extent, the,
And we're gonna paint them all too, the generators.
really?
Yeah. Then maybe not in the next month, but just want to let you know you got to come back.
Okay, I'll go down there anytime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
No, it's,
Tina?
I have a couple things. Of course, next weekend is Christmas through Lowell. I want everybody to just get in their car and grab your maps and travel the countryside and see what Lowell has to offer. It's one of the greatest things that I love that happens in November, besides my birthday. I do have to say that the Lowell radio station that Al Ekman wrote a grant for years ago, and they played live when Jim Hodges was exiting.
Yeah,
And I was coming back late, and I turned the radio station on that, and I was coming into town because I was trying to get in there to say goodbye to him. And his speech, I knew I was late, so I thought, well, I'll just pull in the driveway. So I sat there in the driveway and listened to that speech, and I'm going to tell you something. Jim Hodges brought a lot to the table, and for him to just beam with pride over this town, over Lowell Light and Power, over our city of Lowell and in this community. And when he made that statement, he says, it just goes to show you that here Ada is spending millions of dollars to look like Lowell. And that really hit to home, because he's right, he nailed it, that they're trying to create a hometown atmosphere, and we live it, we breathe it, and we got to grow up in it every day. So I'm pretty proud of that, guys. Other than that, we're gonna miss Jim, and I hope he still comes to the Christmas parties that the Lowell Museum has, because he is a member. And I host the Lowell Museum Christmas parties every year. And I believe we do send out an invitation to board members, so please attend. That'll be in December 3rd, I believe. Other than that, everybody have a great time with Christmas through Lowell, and thanks for letting me be a part of this board too. I really, really take you guys with me all the time. Thanks.
Jeff?
Well, congratulations. You got some big shoes to fill.
I'm gonna make a speech on that. I have my own shoes and they're pretty big to fill, so I'm not going to fill Jim's, I'm gonna fulfill my own shoes, you know, so.
Which are still-
But you're absolutely correct, yes.
Yeah. But, you know, I can't think of anybody that would be a better person to take his seat on the
Thanks.
council. And I really mean that. I think you'll do an outstanding job, and